Hi, everyone, on this beautiful snowy afternoon. We're going to talk about TREB arbitration and what they look for when you are in there fighting for your commission or someone else is fighting for your commission. So we're just going to talk about sort of the process, and we'll give you some examples so that you know how people are presenting their cases at TREB. I will say, is John Smelters on the line?
I do see his name. I'm actually been trying to call him. John, are you there?
I just want to say that he is one of our best arbitration representatives. He's really good at it. He usually wins them. So, TREB arbitration and protecting your commissions. I'm going to try to see if I can make this smaller. There we go. There are 3 levels of trouble or complaints within our industry. They're addressed in 3 different ways. TREB itself, the Toronto Real Estate Board, or any of your boards, look after ethics and arbitration. They are the ones that we contact when there are commission disputes between brokerages. They also look after professional standards complaints. Most of the time now they are sending a lot of their professional standards up to RICO, but they do look after board, I guess, problems or things that you do contrary to board rules. So those are the 2 things that TREB looks after. RICO deals with infractions of the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act. They deal with consumer complaints and brokerage complaints, but they do not deal with commissions. The courts are where lawsuits are covered. Typically, they're covered by errors and omissions insurance. Rarely, if ever, are you taking anyone to court over commissions. We can usually deal with it without going to court. So those are your 3 levels. Today, we're going to talk about the TREB commission disputes between brokerages. First thing I've got to let you know is that all complaints by you or against you must be handled by managers. TREB will not look after individual agents without management or broker of record being involved. Commission is earned by, collected and paid out of the brokerage. So it has to be the brokerage itself who is either claiming for commission or defending a commission. Complaints must be filed by the brokerage, not by the individual agent. In-house claims against another agent, if you've got a dispute in-house, they have to be handled within the brokerage. We've got a gold circle set up, and that consists of agents who do a lot of business within our brokerage, have been in the business a long time. It is on a voluntary basis, and it is something that if there is a dispute about commission, you come to your managers and we will submit this to Gold Circle. We will get them set up and ask them to arbitrate the claim. Claims against another brokerage must be accompanied by a filing fee. So if you are claiming against another brokerage for a commission that you feel is rightfully yours, to put the claim in, you have to pay a filing fee. And it is a minimum of $500 to a maximum of $1,500, and that's paid into TREB before they will take a look at your claim. You must agree to abide by the TREB panel's decision when you are asking them to arbitrate a claim. If you win your claim, you will receive your filing fee back. If you do not win your claim, they keep the filing fee. If you are defending a claim, it doesn't cost you anything to defend. Let me see. To appeal a decision, let's say you've gone through the whole process through arbitration and you don't agree with their decision. To appeal the decision, there is a 10% of award filing fee that you have to put up front, and they will only allow an appeal on procedural mistakes, not on the content of the claim. So only if we feel or know something was done procedurally that was incorrect. To file a complaint, you must submit a sequence of events, including a reason you're claiming the commission. So you have to write out your reason for claiming the commission and why you feel you are entitled to it. You must include all copies of documents and written communications, emails and texts. And I will tell you that is the first thing that they look at, is to see if there are errors in documents, if the documents are clear, concise, if they can follow the sequence of events in your documents. Let me see. Commission is earned on closing. You must file a claim within 90 days of closing. So if you are looking at filing against somebody, it has to be within that 90 days of the property closing. You cannot file it before it closes. So you have to keep an eye on timing and dates. Here's one of the things that agents fail to realize, and this is that TREB usually finds in favor of the agent who procured the offer. So when you are filing a complaint, you have to state a reason why you feel that you are entitled to the commission. Reasons to substantiate your claim can be interference with a registered buyer, where you feel that the other agent interfered in your buyer representation agreement, or that you're entitled to the amount of commission through different sections of the procurement rule, and you're asked if you have tried to resolve the issue yourself. So the first thing we do if someone comes to management and says, I feel I'm entitled to a commission, my buyer went to another agent and purchased the property, is we go through arbitration's reasons or procurement rules so that we can see what basis we can claim for that commission on, because it's obvious that the other party procured the deal and therefore procured the commission.
Isabel?
Yes.
Under what circumstance would you go after the buyer themselves if they ended up dealing with another agent, or you wouldn't go after the buyer for the commission?
Rarely, if ever, and I'm just going to say this now quickly. I mean, we can certainly talk about it at the end, but rarely, if ever. First, we want to go through the TREB process, see if we can get it resolved within the industry. As soon as we try to take someone to court, first of all, there's a cost involved. We insist that lawyers do it because we are going into court. And immediately that happens, and I can give you examples of it, is people start talking and they start going to the press. It gives realtors a really bad name to try to sue for their commission through the courts. And it's usually suing a buyer. So it makes it very difficult. And at that time, for $10,000 or $15,000, the brokerage, along with the agent, we have to decide whether the case is cut and dried enough to be able to take it to court. I believe we've only done it once. It was cut and dried. We've seen other brokerages do it, and we've seen the bad press they get. So we really discourage it. Okay, we try to resolve it within the industry.
Thank you.
Okay. The parties will be offered mediation. So when you file a claim for arbitration, the first thing that happens is you have to submit everything to TREB. They contact us and ask if we are willing to do a mediation. You can accept mediation, you can refuse mediation. I always like to say, let's go to mediation, see if we can find some common ground and see if we can resolve this, because if it goes to arbitration, you never know which way it's going to go, whether you're going to win or not. At mediation, you can usually come to some sort of an agreement. If there's no agreement at mediation or the parties refuse mediation, the matter goes to a hearing where the panel makes a binding decision, and you have to abide by that decision. Okay? We're going to look at some real life examples within our brokerage. I'm going to sort of go through them. Maybe we'll do a few questions at the end of it, because I'd like to keep this under an hour. There are things that I do want to stress, okay? When there is a claim, the first thing arbitration reviews is the documentation. I ask the agents as soon as there is a claim against us to give us their file. And I must tell you that some files are complete. They have everything you need. Other files that agents keep or don't keep takes them a week or two to get everything together, and then we find that there are errors in paperwork. They haven't kept all their emails, that sort of thing. Those are things that are crucial in an arbitration hearing. Okay, so our first example is our C21 Heritage Group agent prepared and presented a low offer in competition for her buyer, and hold on here, let me get this out of the way, and submitted it to the listing agent for a new home builder. It was in competition, so neither offer was accepted. The listing agent indicated verbally that the new home builder would only accept a full price offer. We, of course, are representing the buyer. Our agent was told that the builder will not negotiate or entertain anything other than a full price offer. So obviously the two competing offers were not at full price. Our C21 agent tried to communicate that to the buyer, but couldn't reach the buyer. All of a sudden, the buyer fell off the face of the earth. The buyer had gone directly to the listing agent and purchased the property. Our agent claimed for a commission of $21,500. We went to mediation. Mediation was not successful. Everybody had dug their heels in. So we went to arbitration. At arbitration, the panel found in favor of the listing agent and against our agent under the procurement rule, and due to the following. The client insisted he was not represented, as he was not given any copies of a BRA or other documents. Everything was faxed back and forth, I believe it was, and he did not get completed documents. The BRA was not initialed and was for more than 6 months, and the BRA was for a geographic region of Ontario. The panel felt that was far too broad and that the buyer's agent could not represent them properly in that sort of a span of area. Our agent could not show how she had provided any services to the buyer other than submitting an offer. That seemed to be the only contact between them. So we did lose that case. She could not prove that she was working on an ongoing basis with this buyer and providing representation to the buyer. Okay. So that's our first example of one we did not win. Example number 2 was that our agent was working with a client. They executed a lease with the buyer and looked for a property to purchase during the lease term. The BRA was explained and signed, and types of properties were explored. During several summer months, July through October, the buyer viewed numerous properties with our agent. Countless CMAs were completed. Different municipalities were explored. 5 different offers were presented unsuccessfully. At the end of October, the buyer advised he had bought a house through the listing agent. Our agent contacted the listing agent and said, listen, I know this has happened. How about we settle for half the commission? I know you did work. I know you got the offer together, but I've worked with this guy for close to 6 months. He is my client, and the listing agent refused to split the commission. We filed an arbitration claim for full commission. We attached the 5 offers that were presented, the 4 pages of single-spaced documented emails noted, telephone conversations were noted, and all the properties sent to the buyer through TREB. The agent, I guess, was copying himself, so he had everything outlined for 6 months of working with this client. It was really a complete file. So we submitted that to TREB, and the listing agent responded that the buyer claimed he had been casually looking at homes with a realtor friend and that there was no BRA with us. The claim went to mediation, where the parties agreed to split the commission 50-50, and our agent was awarded $8,000 plus HST, and his filing fees were returned. So that was a good one. I believe John did that one, and it was a great job. And the agent had one of the most complete files I've ever seen out there, and could prove that he was representing the client the whole time and working with the client. Part of what TREB looks at is when they're trying to decide if the buyer is legitimately under a BRA and you're representing them, how far the listing agent went to find out if that buyer is truly under a BRA. And in this instance, all they had to do was ask how many other did you ask the buyer if he did any other offers? Did you ask the buyer how many other homes he's seen and who he saw them with? And it was very obvious that the buyer was working with our agent.
Isabel, can we ask questions now, or is...
You want to ask questions now? I was going to leave them till the end and go back through them.
Leave them till the end, just because it's difficult to
jump around. We'll go back. Yeah. I'll pull these examples back up when we start taking questions, okay? Example number 3. So far we've got one we lost, one we won. Our agent had a property listed. During the open house, a couple asked our agent to prepare an offer. The documents prepared were a buyer customer service agreement after the buyers were asked if they were under contract. The buyers said they had used an agent for a past purchase and had seen a couple of properties with her subsequently, but were unhappy with her services and had refused to sign a BRA with her quite some time ago. Our agent prepared and negotiated the offer and had it accepted by her sellers. A month after acceptance, the buyers informed our agent that their previous agent was insisting they had signed a BRA, but when they asked for it, the agent could not produce it. They said the agent would be filing a claim for commission of $35,000. This was a highly priced property, and they did. Eventually, a BRA was submitted to the arbitration panel. The buyers submitted a statement that they did not recognize their own signatures. They demanded an original document and threatened to go to the police. The arbitration panel found in our agent's favor. We do not know if there was any further consequences to the other agent. Our buyers at that point were threatening to take her to RICO and to the police. So we're not quite sure, but it's amazing. Sometimes some of the documentation you see that may be altered. Let's put it that way. So be careful with this stuff, but ask the right questions, as our agent did in this instance, and was completely protected. Example number 4, I'm just going to grab a sip of water here. We received an arbitration claim for over $14,000, $14,600, on a property our agent had sold. The property had closed 7 months prior to that time. The other agent claimed they had a prior BRA, which was in effect when the buyers purchased through our agent. Our agent pulled her file, including all of her handwritten notes as to when she met the people, the emails, the telephone conversations, and all was in order. We felt quite good that if we had to defend, that we would win. We responded, though, that the filing period of 90 days had lapsed, and we would not agree to extend it because we had the option to extend it from our end. And we were confident that in the 7 months since closing, MPAC, Geo Warehouse, and Registry had been updated, and that obviously the claiming agent did not have a client relationship with the buyer since he was not aware for 7 months that they had purchased and closed a property. When we submitted that to the arbitration panel, they discontinued the claim. So we were fine. And that was one that we've had a couple of these where all of a sudden an agent stops working with buyers, and just because they've got a signed BRA, they find out 6 months or a year later that the people actually purchased something, and they try to claim on that BRA without having done any work for the buyer, which is what happened in this instance. And this is our last example. We're going to have plenty of time for questions. Our agent filed a claim for commission in the amount of $29,250. Our agent's old friend came to him to help find a property, but explained he was under a BRA with another agent. Our agent said he can't work with his friend. The friend approached his own agent and had a cancellation of the BRA signed. Our agent had no part of that. All he said was, you have to go and get a cancellation. I can't help you until you're free of a BRA. The old friend then signed a BRA with our agent to purchase and to lease and started receiving listings and viewing properties. The buyer informed our agent that he had purchased a property through the listing agent that our agent had sent him. Sorry, I'm not quite sure what this means. That he had purchased a property through the listing agent. The property he purchased was one that our agent had sent him. That's what that means, sorry. When called, the listing agent said that our buyer claimed he had never signed a BRA to purchase, only to lease. It was the same document as what he got his leased property on. The buyer then stopped communicating with our agent, and the buyer did supply a letter to the other agent stating that he did not know what he was signing. In mediation, which is where this ended up, documents were produced by the listing agent with handwritten notes in a foreign language. When translated, it became obvious that our buyer knew what he was doing and was doing it with the help of the listing agent that he purchased through. It was also entered that the buyer was clear about a BRA since he had previously had one canceled and knew exactly what he was having canceled up above. The panel was asking the listing agent what type of questions he was asking this buyer that he did not suspect of previous BRA. Mediation was settled with an award of $12,700 to our agent. It was split in half. The other agent did procure the offer. We got the $12,700 under our BRA. But then this buyer, who was an old friend, filed a RICO complaint against our agent for pressuring, threatening, and harassing him. We ended up answering the claim with all of the explanations above. We submitted the handwritten notes, and RICO dropped the complaint against our agent. So these are the exciting things that we deal with. And I will tell you that we do have your back in these. We want to, when we are dealing with any kind of a claim, the first thing we do is sit down with our agent and find out what really happened. And then we find out that we have to start going through the details. The devil is in the details in these cases. And we're usually pretty successful. As long as you know what you're doing and doing it above board, in most cases that comes out and we are successful. So I'm going to go back for some questions. And we've got, a fair amount of time here to discuss some of these situations. So feel free to ask questions. Tina, do we have?
I'll start.
Do we have?
You start.
Oh, well,
sorry.
That's okay.
Tina, you run it if you'd like.
That's okay. So for anybody that has questions, if you can click the icon down at the bottom to raise your hand, just so that we don't have 4 or 5 people trying to talk at the same time, and then I'll call upon you. But Miguel, if that's you, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't find that.
I can barely hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Miguel.
Sorry, I was mumbling to myself.
No, we can't.
No, I couldn't find the hand. So
Okay.
It's down at the bottom. It's okay. Anyway, you go ahead, Miguel. And for anybody else, I believe there's a raise your hand icon down at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, so for number 2, Isabel, could you go to example number 2, please, so I could look at it again?
Got it here.
So it says there the BRA was explained and signed. Types of property were explored, and then in the end, the other agent got 50% of the commission. Why is that if our agent did what was correct?
Okay, because first of all, TREB always finds under procurement whenever possible. This award was in mediation. So we were at the mediation, and that's the agreement that we came to. If we hadn't come to that agreement, we could have taken it further and gone into arbitration. But when you go into arbitration, it is a panel that is finding one way or the other. And most of the time, the agents come to the agreement that it is better to get half than to take the chance that the TREB panel will find against you. They, as I say, they always try to find in favor of whoever procured the offer, unless there is proof that the other agent interfered with a buyer representation agreement. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, Isabel, can you go to that fifth example for a sec?
Which one?
Example number 5.
Number 5? Yeah.
So we were originally trying to file for about 29,000, and I'm wondering, mediation settled with an award of 12.
Yep.
We had a pretty strong case though, right? And it showed that.
We absolutely did. But what happens is when this happens, our agent comes to us with this huge file and says, I want to file for arbitration, but you know what? I don't want to go through the whole legal panel proceeding, all the work, filing, but I'm entitled to money here. But the other agent, they typically feel the other agent was not lied to, but that the buyer misrepresents themselves. And it's easier, I guess, quicker and cleaner to go to mediation and come to an agreement for half rather than maybe pushing it for the other half and having somebody find against you. In this one, we were quite prepared to back our agent and take it all the way to the panel, because once those notes came out between the listing agent and the buyer, it was so obvious that they were just working around the system, let's put it that way. And then you suddenly get a buyer and his agent saying, well, we're going to punish them for even taking half of it. And they filed a RICO complaint. So then we have to go through all of that. I don't know how many of you have had complaints filed against you, but even if you've done nothing wrong, just the process of answering one of those and the stress of it all is horrific. So a lot of the time, the agents just want to get this finished. They want to get something out of it. And usually it's that the relationship has already broken down with the client, so there's nothing to gain going forward.
On just a different note, going back to something you said way back when about the money you have to put up to file the claim.
Yes.
Try not to be a stupid question here, but is it the agent or the brokerage that's putting up
It's the agent.
The agent, okay.
It's the agent. We ask for a certified check up front from you guys. And we are happy to move forward, and usually TREB, if we're winning or if we come to a conclusion at mediation, you get that back, and that's usually within 2 weeks of when things are cleared up at TREB.
But I would assume between you and John, somebody there would give us advice whether it's even worth our time to try to make this claim, right?
Absolutely. We go through the file. We see where the problems are. If we feel they're insurmountable problems, we tell you. If we feel that we can work with that file, with your explanations, with everything that's happened, we are more than happy to work on your behalf. And I will tell you that putting this stuff together, the meetings, etc., take quite a bit of time. They take quite a bit of energy. We love doing it. It's whether or not the agent wants to put forth the effort, whether or not the agent has the substantiating documentation, and whether or not we all feel together that it is worth moving forward. Okay.
Thank you.
One of the things that we're seeing in a couple of these now, I didn't bring up these examples, but TREB has a buyer registry. And what we found is that sometimes agents, not from our brokerage, other agents, when they meet a client and get some information from them, they're registering them as a buyer in the buyer registry. And they're trying to use that in arbitration. And I will tell you that it's nice to have a buyer registry, but until it's mandatory, that registry means nothing. It's too difficult to, I guess, substantiate whether or not it is a legitimate client, whether it is the same client because you make one spelling error in their name or in their email address or in their telephone number, and you can't search the buyers on that registry. So we're finding that that is something that is neither here nor there. Let's put it that way. Okay, it would be nice if it were like a listing registry where you can authenticate it, but you can't on the buyer registry. Okay, a couple of people have raised their hands.
Sorry, I'm having some difficulties here.
Okay.
Can you see I can't see it. I can't see the hands raised.
All I saw was
See it?
something popped up that said 2 hands
Oh,
were raised.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so I've got it now. Sorry, I'm having,
Okay.
I think the weather is affecting my Wi-Fi signal.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm well. I have a 2-part question for you. I'm going to just give you both of them at the same time.
Okay.
Buyer registry. When is the best time? I know you said it's not useful until it's mandatory, but when would be the best time to register a buyer?
When you have a BRA with them.
Okay.
And understand that you're going to be working with them.
Okay. And the other question I have is it's relating to filing for arbitration or whatever.
Yes.
Do we have a process in the brokerage that we have to go through that process first and brainstorm to see if we have a good case before we take in our case to TREB?
Yes, we do have a process. It's called, you're calling your broker of record or your manager and talking to them about it. And at that point I go, show me your file, come in and tell me everything that's happened, and let's see how we can work with this. And let's see where the weaknesses are and where the strengths are. Both there's myself, there's Aaron, John, Jalal, Peter. We're all pretty good at taking a look at a file and seeing if there is a good case within that file, whether to proceed or not. If there's something that's really, really weak or a real problem, we will advise the agent of that. Okay?
Yeah, because I think that makes sense rather than wasting time going to TREB and at the end, you come out with nothing, losing your $500 to $1,500 that you will use to fight for the arbitration. So that's just something I wanted to point out.
Yeah, no, that we're here for you between us, even if, let's say you have a case and there's something in there that I'm not sure of, I can call Peter or John or Aaron and we talk about it, or I call TREB or I call Rico and we get it straightened out. So between us, we know whether there is a strong case or not. But again, there are no guarantees when you go to TREB arbitration. You are sitting before a panel of, I believe it's 5 people when it goes to the actual arbitration. You're presenting your case. The other side is answering. They ask you questions and then they dismiss everybody and they go and make a decision and let you know in writing what their decision is. So you have to be fairly confident of your case before you go. Okay.
Definitely. Are we allowed to give them a bottle of wine before the case?
Sorry?
I'm just kidding. I said, are we allowed to give them a bottle of wine before the case is said?
No, but you can give that to me because I'm the one that usually has to go.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Go ahead, Doreen Karlusk. Nope. Okay. That's it. Wow.
Is that all our questions?
Yeah. Anyone else have a question?
Could I see number 4 again?
Oh, yeah.
Number 4? Sure. Which one was this? Oh, okay. This was the one that an agent came to us 7 months after closing, that his buyer under his BRA came to our agent and purchased her listing. We took a look at the file. Everything looked fine. She had all her handwritten notes of questions that she had asked the agent about representation, whether they had a buyer representation agreement, etc. Had they seen other properties? Had they done offers with anyone? All of the answers were negative. And 7 months after closing, we were approached for $14,000 commission. A couple of things. We felt very strongly that we could have gone to the arbitration to defend our case, but we didn't feel that we had to, since the 90-day reporting period was over. If you want to file for arbitration, file a claim, it has to be within 90 days of closing. So when we responded to that, the other brokerage asked TREB to agree to an extension of that 90 days. And we objected to that. And we thought, no, there's no reason to extend it. This wasn't a 2 or 5 or 10-day extension. It was 7 months. Well, actually, I guess it would have been 4 months, but regardless, it was more than long enough that this guy had no case if he didn't know for that length of time that his buyers had gone and bought a house.
Thanks, Isabel. You answered one of my...
Oh,
Sorry?
Okay, let me try that again. Thanks, Isabel. You answered one of my questions with what you just mentioned. The other question, though, is in reference to what you said about a checklist, that the agent had gone through a checklist of asking whether they had already presented any other offers, et cetera, et cetera. Was that a written document? Was that something
no, what she did was, no, at the time whenever you're dealing with somebody that you've never met before, it is not a checklist, but it is a good practice that in your physical file, and I know a lot of you don't keep them anymore, it's a good idea to just jot down when you talk to a client phone call and what it was about. I met this person at the open house, and here's what I asked him. If you keep those notes on an ongoing basis and you can refer back to them, it makes your memory very clear. It gives you something to work off if ever there is a problem in the future. And this agent has been in the business long enough to know that when somebody walks in and asks the listing agent to prepare an offer, they're out open house shopping, you need to make sure they're not under a current BRA. All of the answers came back correct. She had done all of it, and she made notes of that in her file, which is great because a year later, we're pulling out the file going, I don't remember what I talked to him about or didn't, and it's all sitting there. Okay. So it isn't a checklist, but when you are asking somebody about whether they're under an agency relationship, it's not good enough to just ask, are you under a BRA? Have you signed a BRA? A lot of the public doesn't even know what that represents or what it is, but you start talking to them. Have you signed an agency agreement? No. Have you seen houses with other agents? Yes, another agent has shown me 15 homes, and they did all of that without a contract. Well, we signed something. Or no, I haven't signed anything, but I've put in 2 other offers. These are all things that should be red lights to you when you're talking to people you've never met before. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Gulnara, go ahead. Oh, never mind. Her question was answered already.
Okay.
And we have a question in the chat, Isabel, if you want to go ahead and read that from Rayaz.
Okay. I don't know how to get to chat from here because everything. Oh, here, wait a minute. I may be able to find it.
Right down at the bottom.
Yeah, no, it's here. Chat.
Scroll. Okay.
Okay.
Scroll right down to the bottom.
Okay, from Riaz.
Yes.
Okay. Would it be a good idea for our brokerage to have some sort of checklist suggestion to ensure we as agents capture more details when dealing with buyers, sellers? More important when dealing with when dealing with buyers. More important to have details. I will say that, you know what, we can prepare all sorts of checklists, but you're the agents, you know about agency. When you're sitting down having a conversation with somebody about agency, you know that you have to explain working with a realtor, you have to explain the buyer representation agreement, and you get a feel if people have seen this stuff before. I would say more than any kind of a checklist, sort of keep in mind that what you're asking for is not only have they signed a BRA, but have you looked at other houses? Have you put in offers? Because I'll tell you, if they've put in an offer, they're under a BRA somewhere. And you would like to see that, to see if it's specific to one property, if it's expired, etc. So those are the main things. And we actually cover a little bit of that in our quick start when we start talking about agency and buyers, what to ask people about, especially if you do a lot of open houses and people are coming through, or if you're getting calls in, people asking questions before you make an appointment to go out and show people properties. These are things that you're talking about when you're pre-qualifying them. Okay?
Isabel?
Yes, Neil?
I was going to say, I think you can really cover yourself a lot with buyers when you first sit down with them, especially if they're first-time buyers, and really explain what the BRA is all about, and explain your duties to them, and in return, that you're going to be their agent, and they're not running to other people, and you kind of set the tone early.
There's absolutely that. Yeah, and I believe in working professionally, and part of that is having a buyer's presentation. When I was working in the field selling homes, I would usually allow my clients or prospective clients to pick 2 or 3 homes that we would go and see the first time out. If they were not willing to meet me in the office after that and sit down and talk about, it was actually my buyer's presentation, but I said to them, it's talking about how we're going to work together, and I want to explain forms to you and the process. If they weren't willing to do that, then I'm not working with them on an agency relationship because I work under contract. And I really feel that that is something that we should see more of, not just running into somebody at an open house and going forward with them. At some point, you have to sit them down and explain agency, explain how you work, explain our industry and what's expected of you, but also what's expected of them in return. Okay. We do have buyers presentations for your use that you can personalize, but it is something that you should be getting comfortable with so that you can prove to arbitration and say, listen, I sat down and explained agency when we met on April the 1st. We had a 2-hour meeting in the office, Okay.
Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. I think the reason we are having a little bit of issues that we are discussing now is because some of us, we are, when we have somebody come to us and say they want to buy properties, we are so excited that we don't do our due diligence with them. We don't explain the situations with them that this is what it is. And with the BRA, there are some aspects of the BRA that you will tell a potential buyer, and they might not want to work with you. It's like sitting down with a list, with a seller, and you tell the seller, listen, here's what it is. If you sign this agreement with me, everything that happened about this house come through me. Even if somebody comes to you.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, Jeff. I feel first of all, there are a lot of agents out there. There's a lot of money at stake. We all get hungry for that money and want to put the deal together. And the problem is that our product or what we sell is property, but our core value is as a realtor and providing agency to our clients. And I don't think there is enough emphasis put on that in the industry. Agents who are in the industry for a long time and who are successful have learned along the way how to explain agency, how to explain to clients what their obligations are to the client and what the client's obligation is to the agent. And the more you do of it, the more comfortable you get with it, and the easier your explanations come. Sometimes when you don't have the, I guess, the scripts, the vocabulary, the practice of explaining a buyer representation agreement to a buyer, it comes across harshly. And I think part of that is that you have to get comfortable with it yourself. If you're not comfortable with the explanation and the reason that you're getting paid, what you're doing for that client is very difficult to explain. Once you get more comfortable with it, the more you do it, the easier it is. So we have to do more of it. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you short. I think the issue is that sometimes we are afraid to tell them the truth. My last listing I just sold, last listing we just sold. When I sat down with the seller, I told him all the scary stuff of the agreement. I said, listen, if you sign this thing today, everything comes through me, whether you like it or not. If your brother comes to you tomorrow and say, I want to buy your house off you, I still earn my commission, whether you like it or not. So after telling him all the scary stuff, he said, Jeff, give me time to think about it. I said, okay. I'll give you time to think about it.
Maybe
so we went home.
Maybe we can talk to you how to put it not in such scary terms.
Yeah, definitely. I'm willing to tell people what I do sometimes when I sit with a client. At the end of the day, he called me up the next day, said, Jeff, you were very honest with me. I know what I'm facing, so I'll come and put my house in the market. So the fact is that you want to make sure that everybody on the table understand what is going on and everything is put in writing. And not at the end of the day, one of the houses we sold during the COVID, I would say maybe around March last year. Luckily, we put everything in writing. And what we put in writing is that if we do find our own buyer, at the end of the day, we find our own buyer to buy your house, Mr. Seller, we'll give you a discount of 0.5%.
Yeah.
That deal, we had somebody else brought their buyer to buy the property. When we sat on the table discussing the offer, one of the husband goes, oh, Jeff, you told me that if you find your buyer, then you will give me 0.5%. So now you're finding a buyer. The wife goes, that's not what Jeff said. Jeff said when they find their own buyer, not any buyer. So
Yeah.
that's
So
what it
it's,
is.
yeah, so let me interrupt you. It is all about clear communication with your clients and making sure you do explain everything. So thanks a lot, Jeff. Andy, your huge takeaway is document, document, document. I love that attitude because having it there when you need it is great, but it's more than documentation. It's also making sure the documentation you do is correct. I've had agents come to me where they rightly feel entitled to commission where their buyer went elsewhere. And when we start reviewing the documents, we find that the BRA was for more than 6 months without the correct initials, which to the panel means you didn't explain the document. Where the commission earned is as per MLS and you are claiming for a certain amount. As per MLS is an advertising. You have a contract, there has to be an amount there. So when you start finding those kind of problems in it, if they're minor problems and that's the only problem, that's fine. But when you see that and you start going through other documentation, you start seeing other problems. And if those problems become too great with your case, you're not going to win it. So not only should you be keeping complete files, you should be making sure that your contracts are correct because we do work under contract, and that you keep track of what's happened with your client, with that person that you're working with. So yeah, at keeping complete files, I think is crucial, whether you do it on your computer, by hand, however you do it. Okay?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yep. That's a
All
wrap.
right. And we kept it just under an hour. And thank you everyone for your attention. And it was great fun. We'll pick another little group of problems that we deal with, and we'll do something different next time. Okay?
Sounds great. Thank you, Isabel. And
Thank
don't
you.
forget, tomorrow, guys, is our awards ceremony. So make sure that you join us for that. We have some special guests. Okay. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.